The Cyber CometCast provides insight to the academic and personal lives of school community members in Mason City schools during the pandemic. Unlike other podcasts in the educational space, CometCast keeps it informative and entertaining as students and staff recount their lived experiences during such a unique time.
COVID. 1 year ago, a worldwide pandemic arose. It has impacted lives. It was never expected. It changed everything. Hi everyone, my name is Ved, and I'm a 7th grader at Mason Middle School, and I'm here with a few of my friends to discuss the ways COVID-19 has influenced our lives. Welcome to our brand new podcast.
I'm Simone, and I'm also a 7th grader at MMS.
And I'm Darun, in 7th grade as well. Today we're going to talk about the beginning of COVID-19 and how it started to affect the world in March of 2020. Before March of 2020, it was just a normal month, but we never knew what was coming for us. We're going to hear some stories of others and share our own as we look back at how everything changed 1 year ago.
Darun, let's start with yours. How did you first hear about COVID 1 year ago?
Well, my friend and I were actually joking about COVID because in 1820 there was a plague, in 1920 there was a plague, and then we were talking about how in 2020 there was going to be a plague, and we were just laughing. And literally 2 weeks after that, the whole world shut down. So that's how I found out about COVID.
Thanks, Darun. That's pretty interesting. Now we're going to hear from one of our staff members' stories. Dr. Mott is one of our assistant principals here at Mason Middle School. Her story is unique because she wasn't really in Mason last year. Let's hear from her.
1 year ago, I was working at a local high school here in Cincinnati, had heard about COVID by the end of February, but didn't think too much of it and was still planning an amazing spring break trip to Bolivia with my friends. On Thursday, March 12th, our principal mentioned that we'd be listening to a press conference from the governor of the state of Ohio and sat together in his office as he announced that we would be closing schools for 3 weeks across the entire state. It was unbelievable. The next morning, we met as a staff to make a plan to say goodbye to our students that day and sent them off trying to make the most of it, saying we'll miss you for 3 weeks, but just enjoy the 3-week extended spring break. And little did I know that that would be my final day with staff and students in that building, as just a couple months later, I was accepting a new position at Mason Middle School in a new role. It taught me a lot about being grateful for the days we have, taking advantage of every moment with people, and I'm ultimately incredibly thankful for the amount of growth that we all have had in the last year as a result.
That's really interesting, Dr. Mott. The fact that you never got to see those students again is sad, but we're very glad to have you in MMS.
You're so cool, Dr. Mott. And yes, it is sad that we get to hear about this infectious disease, and then what do you know? The school shuts down and making it the last day of the school year.
Ved, how about you share yours?
So basically 1 year ago, I was just in my 6th grade classroom with my friends, and then we were talking about stuff. And then one of our friends started asking us about this one pandemic on the other side of the world, which we had no information about, called COVID-19. We're like, that seriously can't be a real threat. What do you know? A couple of weeks later, the entire world shut down. We were in quarantine, and we never expected it. We never thought that would actually happen.
What is unique is that all three of us haven't been back in the building since then. Crazy. Let's listen to another student share. This one has gone back into the building, but he is still experiencing school in a different way. Here's Kobe's story.
1 year ago, when this whole COVID thing broke out, I remember the day that Mason said that schools were closing due to COVID. I was playing with my friend in person in the backyard, and it was pretty strange to think that this could be the potential last time that I could see him for a long time. Nevertheless, we knew that we wouldn't see each other for about a year in person. I first heard of COVID back in January, so over a year ago, and because it was spreading around China. And I remember seeing a video on YouTube about what it's like to have COVID. Little did we know that it would spread to the USA and become humongous. I remember back in school that day, people were coughing and they were like, "Oh, you have coronavirus." Oh, ah. Today, it's you would get in trouble, but the person who coughed also would get in trouble because they have COVID. I mean, not trouble, but office sent to the nurse's office.
Yeah, it is really sad when the school shuts down after hearing about just bad disease. With school shutting down, we get to do school online, which is pretty weird, but it's normal now because we've been doing online school for almost a year.
I remember in orchestra, a couple of my friends, one of my friends coughed, and they're like, "Oh my God, he got coronavirus!" And I remember that. Those were weird times. We were just joking around. We never realized that it would turn into this serious pandemic.
It's really sad to see your friend for the last time, in over a year. And especially when you never expected it to happen. I feel what happened to you, Kobe. Me and Darun have been friends for such a long time, and we haven't seen each other in person for a long time. We never thought that this pandemic would happen. It was never expected for all of us.
Yeah.
So for this to happen, it was really weird.
It was really weird. We were talking one day, and then the next day, the whole world shuts down and nobody goes outside. Everything turns virtual, and I can definitely relate to that.
Yep. It is really sad when the school shuts down after hearing about this infectious disease. With the school shutting down, we get to do school online, which is pretty weird, but it's normal now because we have been doing online school for almost a year.
Now we're going to listen to the story of our staff member, Mrs. Snyder.
I remember leaving the middle school that day, wondering what the governor was going to announce. His newscast usually started at 2 o'clock, but by the time school was out, we still haven't heard anything about cancellations. I was on my way home and decided to stop at Chick-fil-A to pick up some dinner for my family. While I was sitting in line, we all know how long Chick-fil-A lines are, I picked up my phone and looked on Twitter. There I saw the notification that the governor announced an extended 3-week spring break. I couldn't believe the news. Still not really knowing what that meant, I took a screenshot and sent it to all my teacher friends in case they had not heard the news yet. We all talked about what was going to happen when we get back in the building in 3 weeks. No one anticipated that it would last for the rest of the school year. And since I teach online this year, I have been out of the classroom in person for almost 1 year.
Mrs. Snyder's story was very funny because she found out when she was at a Chick-fil-A drive-thru, which is kind of really funny. Now moving on, we're going to listen to one of our students, Alyssa's story.
1 year ago, I was in my 6th bell class, sitting at my table with my teacher and my table mate, and we were talking about the coronavirus. And we thought, oh, this school isn't going to shut down. It's going to be totally fine. And the next day, wouldn't you know, the school shut down and we started remote learning after that. I was so surprised and I couldn't believe what was happening.
Yeah, exactly. Alyssa, I can connect to you because that's what I thought. And, remote learning is hard to believe. Let's play a Narit's story.
I didn't know about COVID-19 until my sister told me the end of 2019. But then on March 12th, on a Thursday, on the afternoon, we there was like Facebook post or like an email that said we won't be coming to school on the 13th, which was a Friday. And then I didn't think of nothing of it because, I mean, we would have cases, but I thought it was just like for the day. But then the weekend passed, the week passed, and we started doing online school. Which online school, it wasn't really, I don't really like it. I started doing online school for 7th grade too, and I finished 6th grade. I prefer the in school instead of online because online, it's just not for me. But that affected my life like so much.
Honorate, that was very interesting. It can sometimes be deceiving how quickly things can ramp up from just like a small post on Facebook to something big as the entire school shutting down, turning into online school. So now let's hear Ashrita's story.
My 1 year ago story is I was at school and my teacher said that we don't have school for the next few weeks. I was kind of shocked. I was also kind of wondering why, but I was also happy that we didn't really, like we didn't have school for a few weeks. And he just said he didn't really say much. He just said that there's this virus and everything is going to be fine. Just nobody panic. We're just going on lockdown so we can all be safe. And we're like, oh, okay, it's fine, it's fine. And I didn't really think much about it. And then a few weeks turn into a few months, and a few months turn into like the end of 6th grade and the beginning of 7th grade too, because I chose online learning for 7th grade also, because outside it wasn't safe. There was just so much cases, and it just wasn't safe.
Yeah, Ashrita. Teachers did make it really fun, and I really appreciate our teachers because even in online, they work so hard for us, and they also help us like in any time. They're always here to help us. Thanks for sharing the story. Benny, let's hear your story.
So 1 year ago, I was just a normal kid. I played games with my friends and go to school just like the other kids. So I first heard about COVID. I don't remember the exact date, but it was in March. Right after I got home from school, my dad told me that I'd be doing remote learning, and I was happy at that time because I wouldn't go to school and it was like no school. But later on, I became sad because I missed my friends and my teachers, and I had no way to contact them. Additionally, I always had to wear a mask and social distance, and I always stayed home in quarantine. So sometimes my dad would take my brother and I to the park if he had time, but nowadays he doesn't do that because of COVID. So now I just stay home and listen to K-pop.
Playing game with friends sounds very fun, but because of this COVID, everything seems silent. But COVID is not silent. COVID cases are everywhere around the world, and our expectations can be nice. Like, for example, when you get the news about no school, online learning, you feel happy, free, and very cozy. But in reality, after a few days or even months, you feel very bored. No more playing with friends for a long period of time. But listening to music can always make you feel better.
We end every episode with a Mason moment. Darun, do you want to share your Mason moment?
One of my favorite Mason moments that I've had is in 5th grade when my friends and I read the book Refugee and we did a book project on it. It was like a Google slideshow about showing empathy for refugees. My teacher tweeted it out, and the author, Alan Grass, actually replied to us, and that was just amazing. Anybody else have a Mason moment that they want to share?
Yes, I do. So my Mason moment was also in 5th grade, just like Darun. And my Mason moment was when I was like going out to the bus after the dismissal. And like I always used to say, have a good day and bye to the teachers. And I said it to one of my teachers, and then she appreciated it. And then she said, what's your name? I really appreciate that you said that to me, and you're the first person to kind of like greet me saying goodbyes. And then the next day, she came into my classroom to tell the students like something that I did to her, and then she really appreciated it, and she gave me gifts like yarn, my favorite book, and like a certificate kind of thing from Mason.
Yeah, I remember that.
That's my favorite Mason moment.
I remember that, and that actually that teacher she actually got a couple of kids to basically storm into Simone's classroom and start clapping. So that was really funny.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for listening to the first episode of Cyber CometCast. 5 more episodes are coming soon, and we're honored to have hosted the first episode.
CometCast out.